Do not do your makeup until you watch this video. Every single time I do my makeup on TikTok live, people are like, girl, can you please do an in-depth tutorial? This is the in-depth tutorial. I curated this video so that hopefully you're able to do your makeup at the same time and speed as me. So I'll try not to go too fast and I'll explain every single product that I'm using throughout the way. But first, make sure you double tap, give me a thumbs up. You know what it is. This helps me reach more people and motivates me to make more videos. So did you do it? Okay, let's put our makeup on. Grab your makeup brushes and all of your makeup because we're going to be flying through this tutorial. Today we're doing a full beat face, but if you are not into the beat face look, don't worry. You can stop before we get into the eyes. For my brows, I'm going in with the first brush on the left, which is a chisel brush with a spoolie on the other end, and the darkest brown in the Juvia's Place Warrior palette. So what I like to do is start by filling in the arch underneath my brow. I like my tails darker than the beginning of my brow. I think most people do. So that's how you achieve it. Start underneath with the arch and the tail and work your way back to the center. Oh, and of course we're spicing things up while I do my makeup with a little story time. So somebody on my TikTok live asked me, Nina, do you have any crazy story times about your camming career? And I definitely do. So I'm gonna tell you guys about the very first time I ever did a live cam show. Spoiler alert, if I could go back and tell myself, girl, don't do it. Don't do it, girl. That's exactly what I would tell myself because I had no idea what I was doing. And to this day, that's probably the only thing I regret. Not getting into camming, but definitely doing that one particular show. I don't even remember what year this was and how these people found me, but I do know I was recruited. This was not an idea I just had on my own. Although I would be lying if I said I didn't need the money, because I definitely did. And this was when I was about 23, before I ever even went to the gentleman's club. I didn't even pick a popular website, but then again, I didn't know what the popular websites even were. Imagine, for example, you're trying to go back to school, but you don't know where to begin. What school is the best? What are people saying? What are the reviews? Which one is going to help me get the best job? I was trying to do a little bit of research, but of course I was being swayed by this company who just wanted me to stream on their platform. Next, we're going in with our Born This Way concealer, and my shade is Cookie. You can find this at Sephora. Try to keep the concealer towards the center of your face because we're actually going to buff it out later. This is a full coverage concealer, but a trick to using something like this and only having to put one layer on is you have to let it dry down a little bit. So you'll see I actually applied the concealer and then I'm going in with a different NARS concealer. This is their pot concealer in the shade Praline. And this is what I use to actually carve my brows. I'm also using an e.l.f. brush for this as well. So I must say, for someone who's not in the adult industry, there's definitely levels to this. And being a dancer at a club or camming are both like the kindergarten level. So I figured, how hard could this possibly be? But even though something might be easy, a little bit of training goes a long way. Even if it's just a few tips, you could end up making way more money and saving yourself a load of embarrassment. I did not get any training from this company. They just told me to have fun. And I was so naive. That's exactly what I tried to do. Looking back at it, I remember my first live like it was yesterday. I remember what I wore, what my hair looked like, even the fact that I still had eyebrow blindness. The only thing I don't remember is how many people actually were in the live chat. No. So let me set the scene for you. I'm wearing this lacy white robe with lingerie underneath, curly hair, of course, because back in the day I was curly 90% of the time. And my nails and toes, definitely not French tip or white toe, but you can't blame me, I was a product of the times. I also should note that back then, there was no such thing as promoting yourself as an adult entertainer. I know that now that's super popular and all you see is girls in booty shorts on TikTok and Instagram, but back then, about 10 to 12 years ago, it was taboo to put yourself online as an adult entertainer. Plus, I didn't even have the audience for that yet. Real quick, I am using the Fenty Blur Stick in shade 16 Warm Neutral, and you can use this either sparingly for light coverage or for full coverage. I love full coverage, so as you can see, I did apply it all over my face except over the concealer. Using a deluxe crease brush by Real Techniques, We're now just lightly buffing in a circular motion our concealer, which we have let dry down for just a few minutes. We're gonna be buffing for a while, so let's get back to the story. I needed the money, I didn't have the audience, it wasn't the time yet to promote on your Instagram. I also was a little ashamed because I did not want anybody that I knew to know my situation. This is what the show looked like. Me twerking, terribly by the way, getting naked at the very beginning of the show, which, big tip, ladies, you're definitely supposed to make them work for it. You're not just supposed to just get straight to business at the very beginning. But I did not know that because I had no sales skills. So here I am interacting with a few people watching my live, getting tons of freebies by the way, not tipping, and I'm just booty butt naked with everything out, smiling all up in the camera with my long lashes and super thick brows. As somebody who knows how to run a show now, oh my goodness, it's so cringe to even look back and think of, because imagine you don't even have your music queued up, so every time the song goes off there's that awkward silence. Girl, crossfade, 7 seconds. Also, copyright free music. If you didn't know, some sites require you to use copyright free music if you want to resell your live stream. Just a little tip, ladies. Overall, there are definitely so many ways you can make your live show move more seamlessly, and I didn't have any of those hacks. Whew, girl, we're finally done with buffing. So now I am going in with my Expert Face Brush by Real Techniques. Again, this is number 200. All of these brushes actually come in a set together. The e.l.f. brushes come together and the Real Techniques brushes come together. So definitely look for them all in a bundle so you're not wasting money. You can see by now we let that Fenty blur stick also dry down, but not too much because it's a stick. It's not as liquidy and movable to begin with, which is great, honestly, because if you don't want to set it with powder, you don't have to. Side note, Rihanna and Fenty Beauty, if you guys want to send me a PR package, I would be willing and open to review the products. Although if you don't want to send me a PR package, I get it, because I be saying some good stuff and some bad stuff. I'm known as honest. Wow. So back to the cam tips. If it's your first time camming, ladies, never run a show longer than 25 minutes. You know how there's different church services, like there might be an 8 o'clock and an 11 a.m. service all on the same Sunday? You're running your cam show exactly like that. You always want to have a fresh turnover of fans watching and ready to tip. Next, we're going in with our Makeup by Mario contour stick in shade Dark. I'm going to blend this in with MAC brush 186. This is kind of like a soft chiseled blush or multi-purpose brush. This is one of the first makeup brushes I ever bought, and I only bought this brush along with the 217 because I really wanted to work at MAC, and so I wanted it to look like I had a MAC brush collection. Y'all, my lore goes crazy. I feel like I have so many stories to tell you that I'm constantly sharing something new every single day. But yeah, I applied at the MAC store in the mall back when I was maybe 19 or 20. There were so many jobs I applied for that the hiring manager or the company just did not see the vision with me. Doing makeup was one of them. And looking back, wow. I told you guys a story on TikTok about how I also did not get hired as a go-go dancer in a club in San Diego. The gag is, it was a black urban club and I was one of the only black people who worked there. So how you gonna tell me I'm not good enough for my own people's music? I'm so glad times have changed for myself. I can't say times are changing for everybody with everything going on with America. We're definitely going back to 1940. But for myself, I feel like I got the last laugh because every single person who told me no, I ended up mastering that craft and being appreciated for it anyway. Imagine MAC rejecting me just for me to come back years later as a prominent beauty influencer on YouTube. So you're running your show for 20 to 25 minutes, but you're segmenting that even further based on your tip goal. Let's say your goal for the night is $1,000. Then you need to run 5 shows at $200. And in those 20 minutes, you can say, okay, in the first 5 minutes, I'd like to make $50, and so on and so forth. With each small mile mark, you're gonna do a little bit more for your audience. Thankfully, a lot of streaming platforms offer built-in games such as spin the wheel, roll the dice, pull the slots, activities that require tips and tokens that help you achieve your goal and keep everybody entertained. Side note, before we move on to setting, I am just perfecting my brows because all of our liquid steps are now done. So if you need to perfect anything, do it now. After a while of running these shows, you kind of start to get your own flow. So I have like an opening program. Again, I hate to keep comparing this to church. It's the best analogy because it truly is like that. that, you have your opening remarks, your praise and worship, your main sermon, and then after that, people give you money and everybody goes home happy. Same thing. So I open up, I'm usually dancing, twerking, giving my weekend wrap up, things that make everybody feel warm and welcome before they start opening their wallets. And just because you have these built-in interface options like spin the wheel doesn't mean you're limited to just those activities. In fact, you can come up with your own games, you can play Simon Says. There are so many different ways to run a show and skin a cat. It all comes down to getting used to running your shows, being consistent, and training your fans. Going in now with my Sephora Micro Smooth Baking Powder in shade 56 and my Real Technique 400 blush brush, I'm going to set my entire face. Now, pro makeup artists, you should know what I'm doing. Intermediate girlies, you're probably like, why are you putting the same color powder on your entire face without baking first? The reason I do this is because I want my entire face to be the same texture. So after going in with all of your liquid product, your face is going to be super tacky. And this is typically a good thing for products like eyeshadow, where you really want the color to pop. But oftentimes, one part of your face is really cakey and then the other part not so much for this very reason. Making sure your entire canvas is the same texture is going to help your makeup go on so much smoother. What you just saw me doing was taking my blending concealer brush and just making sure there's no fine lines and creases before I set underneath my eyes with the Laura Mercier Honey Translucent Powder. And you can do this with a poof or a moist beauty blender. Moist or damp, but not wet. When I'm using a beauty blender, I definitely pat it with a towel to make sure it's not wet to the touch. That is the secret to the beauty blender, guys. So I'm going in with that translucent powder underneath my eyes. I also make sure to go over my brows and set them, especially right in that T-zone, which gives a nice ombre effect. If you struggle with getting your brows to look natural, that is one of the big hacks. Don't forget to set your brows. I'm actually not in love with this poof that I'm using. I bought it in Indonesia because I've seen so many beauty influencers switch from the blender to the poof, but you guys let me know in the comments, are you a bigger fan of this poof or the beauty blender for baking? No need to let that sit for too long. After all, your face was no longer tacky when you applied it, so we can just dust it off with our 400 blush brush. I really like to take my time with this step because I notice the more I blend the face and the complexion, the more even and smooth everything looks, especially in photos. You can definitely tell when you have the flash on and you've baked a little bit too long. So basically, we're just repeating all the same steps we did with our liquid products with our setting powders as well. So this is the 186 MAC brush that we used with our Makeup by Mario contour stick, but now we're just using our Micro Smooth powder in shade 65, which is one shade darker than what I used for the entire face. In my opinion, you should have about 3 shades of setting powder, a regular shade and a contour shade for your winter complexion, and one as well for your summer tan complexion. This is the first time I've done a tutorial mixed in with a story time, so bear with me, people. I'm trying to share the juicy details, but I'm also trying not to leave out what I'm doing with my face. So it's years later and I see myself leaked all over the internet of my very first time, and remember, whoever leaked that definitely saw that I had mad potential. Either that or they were an original YouTube Nina fan and they couldn't believe their eyes. Going in with an off-brand fluffy brush. Now, I don't know what brand or anything. I got this brush from my lash tech. It's actually to wash my lashes, but I found that it gives the perfect nose contour. I used to do my nose contour with a smaller round brush. I realized if you do it with a dense fluffy brush, it actually does all the blending for you. Notice as I'm contouring my nose, I'm actually moving into that brow bone and using my finger to just gently buff the rest out. Not gonna lie, I love a deep dramatic nose contour. The only thing I don't like is when there's too much blush on the nose because it just doesn't even go with the laws of lighting. I could go on and on about the nose contour and the blush, but y'all, to be honest, I really just became a blush girl this year. And speaking of blush, I am using shade Prolific by Adriana Nicole Cosmetics and a fluffy brush by e.l.f. Now, I think they changed their blush brush because this is not the same brush, but this is the only one that I could find that even resembled this. Notice I'm starting very high up on my cheek and moving underneath that concealer. I am not afraid to get blush right up underneath my lower eyelid. Surprisingly, this is the only blush I own, so I actually could use some recommendations. Blush girlies, let me know down in the comments, what are your favorite blush brands and shades? I would love to try a shade that's a little more cool tone, but that does not wash me out or look ashy. Guys, we are almost done with the face and then we'll move into the eyes. If you don't like a full makeup look, I would highly suggest you stop right here. Going back in with that same Warrior Juvia's Place palette and a pencil brush actually from Makeup Geek. This is a really good brush. Can you believe I have had it for that long? I bought it back when Marlena first started Makeup Geek. This is so long ago, but the brush is still as in pristine condition. I actually use this for highlighting, so one of my secrets is that I do not highlight my cheekbones because of my face shape. So here you can see I'm only drawing small short lines just to highlight my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chin. Using the pencil brush and the shimmer eyeshadow, it's so much more detailed, yet it makes you look way more airbrushed. So now that I gave you guys tons of tricks and insight when it comes to camming, even though that wasn't my intention, let's go back to the original story time. So after I did this cam show, I thought it was over. I didn't make that much money, so I just chucked it up to you did it, you tried it, you didn't like it, and that's not for you. Well, fast forward years later, of course, I'm in the strip club, I'm also doing Lonely Bands, and this is when I start realizing, okay, some of your Lonely Bands content is leaked on the internet. This happens to every girl, so do not get into the adult world unless you know that the downsides are real. No one is exempt. At some point, the most intimate parts of you will be on Google or some shady corn website. So here I am getting ahead of my Lonely Bands leaks when I discover my live from years ago when I was a super baby cammer that first time was leaked on the internet. I was mortified. Imagine someone filmed your very first time being intimate and then leaked it. That's exactly how I felt because I didn't even know what I was doing. Even now, looking back, I'm like, oh goodness, do not watch anything from my very first year because I was so inexperienced. My content from the last 2 years is the best work I've ever done. It is truly cinematic, and I can't believe I haven't won any awards yet. But actually, maybe I can believe it. This industry is incredibly racist. But isn't every industry in America? I mean, we don't even have DEI anymore. All this yapping is distracting me from telling you guys the lip combo. I'm using Makeup by Mario, the contour stick in shade Dark again. Rule of thumb, your contour shade should be the perfect shade for your lips as well. Then I go in with the shade South Shore by Makeup by Mario. And then if you want to make an even more ombre situation, try going in with Flat Iron by Makeup by Mario. It's a bit more peachy and true nude, whereas the South Shore is more pink. And if you are a messy girly, go ahead and clean up right now. I don't want you leaving the house with makeup brushes and open palettes everywhere. Yay! We are now hopping into the eyes. This palette is called I Am Luxurious by Adriana Nicole Cosmetics. First impression, love it. It comes with 4 different matte shades and the rest of the palette is shimmer. The glitter is so soft, very easily spreadable with your finger, so I highly suggest you do that. We're gonna start out with the lightest brown shade and just buff this all over the crease. This is kind of like our foundation color. So with camming, it's very hit or miss, but you can eliminate your chances of not making money by streaming longer and going really hard on promotion. The promotion factor was the single largest thing that affected my money. I noticed on days I did not promote, it just wasn't good. And I would listen to my friends who would say, hey, you don't have to promote every day. Sometimes I just get on and I make so much money. Listen, that's your business. My business, I need promotion to let people know, hey, set your calendar. All that going live willy-nilly stuff does not work for me anywhere else but TikTok. And I think it's because I have a very loyal male audience, so the new viewers often aren't as loyal as the day ones. Okay, so we're using a finger to apply this Adriana Nicole Cosmetics eye primer. And this step you really don't need because her shadows are that good. But like I said, tacky is good when it comes to things like eye colors because it really helps everything stand out and stick. If you guys like glitter shadows, I think you should also check out the I Am Everything palette by Adriana Nicole Cosmetics. That one has a lot more jewel tone fun colors and that one ethereal that keeps selling out on TikTok shop. Now I'm going in with the gold to match my shirt, and we're gonna use our ring finger because not only does it apply the perfect amount of pressure, but I find that my ring finger is the perfect size for my eyelid. I can't speak for everybody. If you have hooded eyes, I actually think you should do the glitter without the crease color. slowly dragging the glitter up. You could also just stick with adding a touch of glitter to the center of your eyelids. Just like I said in my H&M haul video, I have such a short torso that high-rise stuff looks terrible on me. I look so nerdy, it gives Urkel all the way. It's a similar situation when it comes to your face shape and even your lid space. Everybody has an ideal look that works best for them. If this is your first time working with glitter, just know that a little goes a long way, and I would definitely advise starting out with the center and then dragging that glitter outward, then up. Putting on too much of this product could actually ruin your entire face because a lot of glitter to spread means you need to have a lot of lid space. I remember once I put on the bronze shade and it was so beautiful, but I just kept going and going. Then I had to redo my entire eyelid over again because it was glitter from the window to the walls. Wait, why does talking about glitter bring me back to the era when I used to wear glittered lips? Do you guys remember when that was a thing? I would put eyelash glue all over my lips, line them up perfectly, and then buy glitter from Michael's, like fine glitter. And you can buy like a 12 pack. It comes with all the colors. So now you have a glitter lip in every single color for the super cheap. Okay, moving into the eyeliner now. The Wet n Wild liquid liner is one of my makeup staples, but I find I only wear liquid liner when I do not have lash extensions. Another one of those things, you just gotta know what works for you. So ladies, if you have extensions, maybe skip the liquid liner step because it can be so messy trying to get a precise line with big fluffy lashes. The good news is that if you do not have lash extensions, this is really gonna lift your eye before you add your lashes. I always say that every business has a product that if they had to remove every other product, canceled, not selling it anymore, this one product would be like their hero item. And for Wet n Wild, it's definitely the liquid liner. If you've never tried their liquid liner, it is $3.99 at CVS, and when I tell you it is better than anything you'll find in Sephora, it's almost appalling that none of these bigger brands have figured out how to replicate a formula that black, that bold. But then also the application method. It's a felt tip brush, but it's soft like a paintbrush, and you dip it into the solution instead of shaking it. Honestly, that's kind of how I feel about the Fenty Blur Stick. That is the one product, if they had to just cancel everything else, just go ahead and sell the Blur Stick, because that's the one. So I used to do the wing first and then draw the line above the lid, but now I find that if you start from the outer corner and work your way in, do the line first and then do your wing. I don't know what it is, but it turns out way more precise. I also think the wing tip turns out more symmetrical when I do it that way. All this talking about camming makes me want to cam tonight just to see, like, girl, do you still have it? I mean, after all, my face is perfectly beat and I have no plans. You guys, I really think I'm gonna do it. I just want to see, just curiosity, you know? It's been a few years since I got on a cam site before. I do have a favorite. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on here because I've never spoken about this on YouTube. But I'll report back to you and let you know if the favorite is still popping or what. I have a little bit of anxiety even thinking about going live again, but it's kind of weird because even though I've been doing this for so long, there's still so many people who don't know who I am. So I'm mentally fighting the whole burnout thing of, well, I've already twerked so many times, I already did this so many times. Yeah, but there are still people who are enamored and people who have never seen you. So it's time for me to really get back on the grind. Another makeup tip that took forever for me to figure out is that when you're doing eye looks, never forget the bottom lid. There are just certain techniques that are a dead giveaway that your makeup was done by a seasoned makeup artist, and one of those is doing the bottom lid. So right here, I'm just going into my lower lid line with the lightest brown color that I use to fill the crease and just buffing that underneath so that top and bottom match. And usually I don't need to polish up my brow bone, but I do feel like today things got a little messy. So I'm going in with that same translucent powder in shade Honey by Laura Mercier and just doing a little bit of cleanup so everything looks nice and crispy. So I cleaned up my brows throughout this video. I cleaned up the eye makeup throughout this video. I don't know if you're noticing a trend here, but your makeup is gonna look better when you add as you go. Keyword, buildable. It's something about building as you go that makes your makeup look so flawless. So when it comes to mastering my makeup style, I don't think I did that until I was about 28 years old, so about 4 years ago. Up until that point, I thought I got it, but what I'm looking back and noticing is that all of my makeup looks are trends. The eyebrow blindness was crazy. Oh my god, and I'm looking at the way I'm doing my lashes. By the way, these are the Double Up Wispies by Ardell. But I'm looking at the way I'm doing my lashes, and this is not my favorite pair at all by any means. I do not like a cat eye, meaning the longer hairs are on the outside. I prefer a doll eye, meaning the longer hairs are on the inside, like the center. It just makes my eyes open up a lot more. But back in the day, you guys, I was so bad at the eyelashes, even down to like 2 years ago. I can go back and look at some of my old TikToks, and the lashes are way too long. Why are they touching my eyebrows? I could roast myself all day long because I feel like I got it down now. But of course, 5 years from now, I'll be looking at myself and saying, ew, what was I doing? Ew, why did we do our makeup like that? Let me know down in the comments, what is one thing you used to do back in the day that is so cringe now? I could even tell you what I used to do with my hair. I would do those highlights where you pull the strands through with like the crochet rod, and then you just dye, you bleach the whole thing, just straight up blue bleach. No tone, shout out to Tana Mojo. Also, to all the girlies who just cannot get the lashes right, my biggest tip for you is to put a dot of lash glue on the back of your hand and run the lash strip through the dot. This is gonna make sure you apply just the right amount of glue without over applying. And then if you need extra, you already have it on your hand. Make sure you apply a generous amount of glue on the tips of the strip because the tips are usually the part that comes up first. Next, you're gonna wait until your glue is almost dry. Super tacky. In fact, if you use black glue, it should be almost fully turned black. This is the only way your lashes are not gonna slide around and you can actually use your fingers to apply. Because I know some people are like, wow, applying lashes with your finger are a pro move. But girl, using your fingers is so much easier as long as you wait until the glue is pretty much almost dry. And finally, oh my goodness, the last step is the mascara. You guys already know that telescopic mascara is the best one on the market, and Michaela did not even have to lie to us and put a falsie on to tell us that. Like, girl, we know it's the best mascara, duh. So this is what I'm using right now to blend the strip with my real lashes, and I also apply on the bottom lashes as well. Oh my goodness, y'all, side note, it's Sunday, February 2nd at 6:24 p.m. And y'all know I live in LA. It is crazy outside right now. Girl, they outside. Girl, they are protesting against ICE. I'm over here trying to keep it cute. I want to be outside protesting low-key, even though that is not even my style. But I can only be so many places at once. And this year, I'm trying to be on YouTube. So let me go ahead and finish editing this. And this is the final look. Ladies, we did it. We beat our face like a professional makeup artist in under 30 minutes. And if you made it to the end of this video, let me know, would you try glittery lips? Also, I want to thank you guys so much if you support me on TikTok, especially the supporter who gave me the idea to talk about camming. If you're into these types of videos, you know, like me spilling the tea on the adult industry, you should definitely watch Business Tips I Learned While in the Gentleman's Club up next. I will link it right now.